Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to Module 28 of the series Marketing Management, a VUCA perspective. We are discussing fundamentals and I am your friend and tour guide Siddhiprad Bhattacharya. So, we have discussed a lot about models and how to apply them in various business assessment scenarios. Right now, we are going to look at how businesses should be interacting with each other. This requires a little bit of detailing and hence I thought it is important for us to cover this segment in its entirety. We will take words from Colin Powell, the ex-US Secretary of State, who says there are no secrets to success, and we are obviously in the entire exercise trying to gain success in marketing. So, there are no secrets to success. It is the result of preparation, hard work and whatever you are learning from failures. Yes, you have a lot of failures up your alley, but the idea is not to get bogged down. The idea is to continuously go back and look at ways to learn from those particular incidents, those particular events, and how do you improve the processes like we spoke of in the previous conversation about setting processes up, how you create processes and how you learn and improve and course correct is where the most important thinking aspect of marketing really comes from. So, here we look at business marketing in depth and understand how business marketing is made impactful. In this case, you will have to help yourselves understand that business marketing needs to be looked at and you have to continuously upgrade the processes you have set up to understand how to succeed at it. So, looking at effective marketing, business marketing programs, we try and understand what our strategy and therefore the modeled approaches for this could be. When you are creating business marketing programs, it is all about building meaningful connections. At the end of the day, it is about understanding who your customer is, what their problems are and how you are able to solve them best. If it is the customer, which in this case a business scenario, it is similar to that of a single point consumer as well, but it is just that here it is more formatted, the buys are longer in their decision making process, they are heavier in terms of the value that are trading hands, but human beings affect those decisions. Hence, their problems will be within the organizations and the way they run those organizations, and therefore, you will have to look at understanding the aspects of problems existing within the business scenario and try and solve them as you go along. So, your clients will always have those problems and how you can help them, how you make meaningful contributions to their lives is how you stand out in a crowded market. It is not just about selling products anymore, it is about offering complete solutions that address your client's needs right from the start to the end. Now, big companies which have been successful in doing this are doing this as a regular feature. You will see organizations like HP, IBM, Shell Oil, they have all embraced this particular approach of giving solutions rather than simply selling commodities or products. And this is known as systems selling because they have a full process to understand what particular gaps are ailing their particular clients or prospects, then coming up with answers to solve those particular scenarios, and by solving those scenarios, we are actually providing these solutions which last them a lifetime and also build a certain impactful value. We have discussed the value chain analysis. Let us look at how it gets implemented here. You are providing comprehensive services and simplifying the entire buying process for your customers, for your prospects and so forth, and managing everything from maintenance to inventory. And this helps the companies make it easier for their clients to do business with them. Today, if it's also about blending online and offline marketing efforts, it's extremely crucial to understand that your customer or prospect could be anywhere, and you have to always be available and ready should the question pop in their minds. So, therefore, they should remember you as the first port of call and should veer towards you for solutions and answers. You can use digital tools which are available today, like social media, email marketing, and you can use your traditional methods alongside, like typical trade shows, all printed collaterals and materials you provide, and you build a strong cohesive brand that looks the same, talks the same, and provides the exact expected output each single time. This integrated approach not only attracts new customers, also keeps the existing ones coming back, because there is a certain lifetime value of that particular kind of customer. We have discussed this before, the lifetime value. So, this is extremely important to understand, and through this you can strengthen long term relationships, and overall you can boost your brand reputation. So, without any further ado, we will jump into the entire aspect. Now, there are business marketing programs which are slightly different from consumer marketing, and hence you have to learn the strategies and models you are going to apply towards gaining business success in this particular space. Now, you need to understand first and foremost why the B2B model of marketing matters. Typically, in the case when you are an organization that does not sell to last mile consumers, but sells to another organization. Your end product is an input good for the particular organization which is your client or prospect. The idea here is to build long term relationships with these clients and drive your sales and revenue growth through them. Again, it is important to showcase how you are doing it different from what your competition has already been doing or is trying to at this very moment. And continuously you have to keep your brand reputation going higher and higher, so that people depend on you, people look forward to what you have to say on that particular subject. So, you have to become a lot many things. You have to become a knowledge leader, a systems or technology leader, and definitely if you are trustworthy, then you will also become a business leader, right. So, with all these things, what you are constantly doing is you are looking at changing market demands, because the market is definitely evolving. Plus, there is a lot of disruptions happening. Now, disruptions could be in any format, whether they are by tech or by innovation, changing market needs, or VUCA forces, which can alter the scenario at any given point in time. So, with all these things kept into consideration, you have to consistently move towards assessing and adapting to all the market changes that you foresee or are seeing happening live in front of you. So, what helps entrench you is moving from a product to a solution mindset, as well as in terms of an approach. Why do you do so? Because you are getting into a system. A system is important because it is not just a product which is at the center of what you are offering. You have an approach to a problem. So, let us say the client has a problem, and this is what your client has. They need a solution. For them to track the path from here to here, it has to go through your product for sure, but a similar product can be provided by your competition as well. How do you create a certain environment around your product so that you are the one who your client or prospect comes to? You are able to take feedback. You are able to take that feedback and analyze it. You are able to put that back into the entire problem, break it up into its nuanced segments, and you are able to solve each particular segment, and then with your product you are creating a whole ecosystem which can bring them towards the solution. And each time this happens, you are also ensuring that you are keeping a tab on any other problems which may have in the interim arisen with your client. So, you are consistently doing this as a cyclical exercise, and this entire system becomes part of what you do as system selling. So, it also origins in government procurement, because governments typically are large, they have got administrative jobs, etc., and there you have the requirement for a turnkey solution. I have a problem, solve my problem and give me something where I just have to turn a key and the entire thing just vanishes. So, prime contractors would provide these turnkey solutions. That is typically where the entire system selling aspect has come from. And the benefits of being a system seller is both for the buyers as well as the sellers, because the buyers will throw their entire problem at somebody and tell them to solve it and come back with a complete workable solution. And the sellers, what they do is they figure out their entire ecosystem, they have products in place, they ensure that the problem is well understood, the typical decision makers, the actual users, they are also fairly well understood, and what their requirements are also taken care of. And various companies adopt system selling to ensure that they deliver on turnkey solutions. Now, how does system selling work? You have a comprehensive problem solving approach which is at the center of all the activities that you do towards assessing and then resolving your client's needs. Here what you have to do is you have to have multiple components and services which are there together, and they solve the problem of the client whichever way they propose their problem to you, and you become a one-stop solution for the buyers. So, when you are providing a one-stop solution for buyers, that is exactly when your alignment with them is the most, and that is where you will get preferred as their one-stop solution person. This will help you establish your successful systems and help push your capabilities out there in the market. Technology companies do this very simply and very seamlessly, because at the end of the day systems are what are core to their entire business offering. You can take a leaf out of the books of companies like Oracle, Cisco, you can take a leaf out of even Amazon Web Services, and you can look at how they have actually gone about doing this in terms of system selling. Systems comes with an IT background and pedigree to begin with. So, when you are doing systems contracting, where you are taking the entire charge up as an organization and delivering the entire environment in which certain things happen, you are looking at managing all the requirements which will be from the requisition perspective of the organization, what the procurement needs, all the maintenance, all the refurbishments, all of these things will be taken care of you as a single source. and the entire inventory management will be provided by you as the primary principal supplier. Now, what the benefit for the customer in this case is that since there is one point of conversation, they can discuss and negotiate a deal with you, and so therefore, they will get a cost reduction and a price protection because they have assigned you the entire project. You have taken into consideration whatever it is required to provide that final turnkey, and you've kept your buffers in place, so you manage your costs. What benefits actually arrive at your desk is that you get a continuous and steady demand. So, there is work and there is business to be had, and you reduce your paperwork because you are dealing with one entity providing the entire environment, and so therefore, it becomes automatically salient and very, very easy for you to manage the entire effort. One example was Shell Oil when they did systems contracting. So, they managed oil inventories for various customers, and this was typically around the Middle East area. They had replenishment services as their core offering. The customer benefits who were working with Shell Oil, they had reduced procurement time and they managed the costs better at their end, whereas for Shell Oil, they had lower operating costs because they exactly knew how much to be supplied and therefore, what rigs were required, how much personnel involvement was there, and they continuously got a demand, and these were typically for very, very long lease periods of some decades. So, therefore, that steadiness in demand ensured business viability for them as well. Now, these are considerations which for a business to business transaction you must take into consideration. Now, when you are looking at industrial marketing as a particular prospect, you will have to look at large scale industrial projects where this typically comes into play. Applications can be in the space of construction, steel factories, maybe irrigation for agriculture and various similar projects, sanitation services, laying and running of pipelines and various utility services. So, these can be where people compete on price, quality and the reliability that they offer in this regard. And the earlier you get involved in the project, the better you are able to understand specifications, the better you are able to manage your resources and in fact, at times work with the buyer to provide something which solves their problem, but does it in your favor by lowering your cost and implications when it comes to manpower. How do you go about doing that? You actually as a supplier can get into the specification development because you understand the problem. Once you have understood the problem, then basis the problem you try and look at a solution. When you are looking at solutions, what you are doing is you are looking at all the specifications which can help you solve that particular problem. So, specifications can change depending on the feasibility both in terms of cost, in terms of efficiency and definitely in terms of quality, and you can influence the specifications by adding value, lowering the cost while giving the same amount of quality. For example, this goes beyond the current specified specifications which the buyer gives you. Why this is important is because the buyer may have a certain typical mindset. Basis that mindset, they are expecting a certain threshold value. What if you change certain specifications which gives them the same benefits, but at a lower price or maybe in lesser time? Then there is that little additional value that you build in into the entire delivery, and therefore, your addition comes at a premium and as a value add on, which makes you the preferred seller in this case. Therefore, your supplier strategy will help the entire project go better off, and so therefore, your influence in the specifications will help push the solution better in front of the buyer. Now, with this consideration, how do you look at examples? Now, beyond basic specifications, you can add additional customer needs, certain nuances, certain specifications which you can understand once you are integrating with the customer requirements, maybe at even a managerial or a user level. Here you can provide customized solutions instead of the exact ask as per the scope of work. Yes, you will have to integrate yourself in the process earlier on, so that you are able to make relationships, understand the problems and solve them right from the get-go. This also enhances the entire aspect of customer satisfaction, because not only are you delivering, you are ensuring that people feel better because of your specific addition to the project. Here, because of your integration into the project, you will get better competitive advantage. Similar players may have lesser chances of landing other such projects and get lesser references, because you have done your job better than they could have. There are various examples of such value added strategies, especially in the case of utilities as a segment, real estate and town planning. Now, in the case of engineering and defense as well. So, you have players today like Tata, Larsen and Toubro. These people get preferred because of the experience they carry, and also because they entrench themselves within the entire specification set. They understand the requirements beforehand, and with their engineering and capabilities that they have built over the years, they are able to solve the problem maybe with a lesser input cost, with lesser personnel and with greater efficiency overall. This gives rise to something called EVA, or economic value analysis. So, it monetizes the benefits, such as how performance actually helps make the process better and cheaper, because if you have been able to manage it with lesser resources or do it faster, it has saved a certain time and has put the project out there in working condition. Also, your capabilities and your past record and experience gives the reliability that is going to help you get similar projects again in the future, maybe even the AMCs, all the annual maintenance contracts for that particular entire project. The warranties that you put forth, that I warrant I will get this kind of quality, and if it is not met, then I will make good on those particular claims and service level agreements. So, Caterpillar versus Komatsu is one very nice example when it comes to heavy engineering vehicles. Here, if they are being evaluated, the buyer evaluates on the basis of one, product benefits, so which is economic, which is functional, which is psychological, whereas in the total customer cost, the kind of time, effort and psychological investment required by the particular buyer to get hold of a particular appliance or two or a fleet from Caterpillar versus Komatsu is something which they consider. And so, therefore, that may drive their decision to choose one particular brand of HEV provider vis-a-vis the other. In India, you will typically see that JCBs, when it comes to typically your bulldozer varieties, which is the backhoe variant, they have found a lot of favor. This is their highest selling item in India. Most fleet owners in India, when it comes to HEVs, have backhoes from JCB. They are very, very publicly seen, so much so that they have become the category norm. In fact, people have stopped referring to them as bulldozers and actually call them as JCBs. So, it is something which has caught the imagination of the cultural tropes within the country as well. So, these are aspects of how success actually leaves behind a footprint for the brand as well. Now, when it comes to B2B marketing and you are enhancing your services, services play a very key strategic and financial role for B2B firms. You are able to give high quality services, and that allows your companies to provide greater value and in the longer run strengthen the customer relationships. So, when it comes to, let us say, the case of airlines and engines that power aircraft, Rolls-Royce provides engines for aircrafts and it helps airlines fly. Now, Rolls-Royce is typically a case study in this scenario. They leverage their services through selling engines for aircraft and they also provide the replacement parts serviceable for the engines which are taking and ferrying customers across various distances. What they have done is they have created a solution format called a power by the hour. Power obviously to take your aircraft from point A to point B, which covers long term repair and maintenance contracts. So, the airlines need to now only focus on their other aspects. The entire aspect of keeping the engines ship shape and airworthy is something which completely is taken on by Rolls-Royce themselves. The benefits for this is that there are higher profit margins because customer preference directly moves towards the brand Rolls-Royce here, because they are predictable and it gives them peace of mind because it has completely been supplied to the manufacturer of the engine itself, and engine obviously is the core component flying the aircraft. So, therefore, Rolls-Royce is also benefiting, so are the people who have taken Rolls-Royce's services in terms of various airlines. Now, the same thing transitions to service models for technology firms as well. Here Adobe Systems is a fabulous example. They have shifted their entire design format software offerings to a cloud based subscription services, and all their formats like Photoshop, InDesign, etc. now reside in the cloud. So, you do not need to upgrade your software at each particular point in time. You just need to take the Adobe subscription. Basis that subscription with a decent machine at your end, you are able to utilize all the capabilities that Adobe has to offer. Automatic upgrades are an automatic result also for this, because customers now do not need to look at versioning, which was a major problem for Adobe software, especially for creative folks. So, this is something that has helped the customers and automatically increased revenue, because they give a lot of bundled support services the moment the subscription is taken on. Also, it has reduced piracy. Of the software. So, this is something which ensures better revenues come to the doorstep of Adobe Systems as well. So, overall this is a win-win for both buyers as well as the organization Adobe itself. Now, once you have done your job right, once you have pleased your customer or your prospect, what you can do is ask them to be your biggest advocates, get them to prove their loyalty for your services or products. Here you leverage that customer reference, showcase that, hey, I have done my work for a particular company, they have liked what I have done for them. So, therefore, now they are going to refer me elsewhere. This is the importance of customer reference programs. It automatically builds trust, because the prospective buyer looks at the scenario and sees that one particular company has benefited from the seller's input, and therefore, it adds credibility, because they see themselves as similar to that particular buying organization which has benefited, and they can also now avail of the same. It also showcases successful case studies from the seller's perspective, and so therefore builds better credibility and trust, and it encourages word of mouth marketing if the communication is done right. So, a lot of examples of this kind of customer reference programs do the rounds on LinkedIn today, especially because that is where professional transactions and conversations happen. So, here you will see a lot of testimonials being leveraged, and these testimonials typically look at covering that aspect of service being delivered suitably. Now, there are lots of online communication strategies. Today, more or less every interaction is first on a handheld device, and most devices are obviously connected to the internet. So, therefore, communication tools that ride the internet offering are important to ensure that there is a constant digital presence in B2B marketing, and all online communication channels like your website, social media and email marketing become par for the course. Each brand tries its best to ensure that they have a lot of brand visibility and they engage. Why engage is because Since business to business deals are large, they have a hefty sum involved. What you typically do is you go through the process of the IDA model, which we have discussed in the past, but rather slowly compared to how a consumer transaction might happen. But the entire process has value at the end of the chain. So, you nurture the prospect from your awareness to your action stage, and that is something which happens only when you are engaging with them continuously till the point that they have made the decision to buy into you. This personalizing of communication while the entire nurturing is happening is intended for the specific target audiences, done better in a business to business scenario because there are too many consumers, but rather very pointed individuals within the larger construct of buyer organizations. So, you can very easily target them at a very individual hyperlocal level. So, this gives you online communication strategies which you can build in, and at the same point in time you can also showcase your presence where it matters. So, therefore, offline branding activities are also equally important. Now, why is offline branding so important when it comes to B2B marketing? It showcases strength. So, if there is a trade fair and you are a seller who is available and visible at that particular trade fair, you have a fairly large stall, you have a lot of tech demonstrations happening, product demos happening, and you have a lot of personnel there catering to inquiries, etc. What typically happens is all these networking events, trade shows and conferences become points of contact, points of showcasing prowess and definitely networking, and it helps build you more and more prospects in the entire process. You can part with printed materials to prospects here, you can put promotional items along with it so that they can remember you. So, you generate a lot of top of mind awareness, and you build beautiful face to face relationships with clients because they now not only are interacting with you on the digital media, but they are also putting a face to the name of the organization that they have seen in the past. And this is especially impactful if the online branding activities are used with a digital leg alongside, because then you are creating something called an omni-channel strategy. Whether you are available in the digital or the physical space, you have a seamless phygital, which is a mix of physical and digital. You have a seamless phygital presence, and hence you are remembered better and more easily accessed by your prospective buyer or repeat customer. One nice corporate branding example in this case is Emerson Electric. They did an entire job of consolidating the 60 brands they had under their umbrella into one single global brand under the Emerson flagship. What they did was they reduced websites and they streamlined their content to put all of their sister concerns within one particular overarching structure, and this also helped them expanded their global reach through localized campaigns. So, they could create versions of the website in localized pages for different geographic locations, countries and so on and so forth, with different languages also coming in. SAS is also another example which emphasized its corporate brand for cohesive market presence. So, the corporate brand is equally important in the case of B2B marketing as is a brand required when it comes to consumer marketing. Brands will do well to remember and take note of that. So, how do you ensure that your marketing becomes effective? You have to continuously evaluate your marketing efforts. There will be, we have discussed KPIs, key performance indicators for B2B marketing as well, where you continuously mention how much ROI you are generating, which is return on investment. You spent a certain amount of money. What kind of acquisitions do you have? How many leads have you generated? What is your strike rate? Strike or conversion rate. And how many are you nurturing? In what particular stage of nurturing are these guys currently at? So, all of these things will also help you devise and adjust strategies based on what your ROI figures tell you and how you are performing when it comes to your marketing activities. And you can continually measure the marketing effectiveness through these things, and these can also become evaluation techniques. So, if you are bringing on an third party agency for this particular exercise, you can actually see how effective they have been in promoting your brand online. Again, you have to stay agile in a dynamic market. The market is unforgiving. So, here you have to have a flexibility in your marketing strategies, and you must monitor the market trends and customer needs continuously and be quick to respond to changes. If there is opportunity in selling certain things to a specific country which is going through a demand at the moment, you will advance your coffers by, for example, selling steel to China, which is in the process of acquiring steel for their construction requirements. And similarly, you will also get more out of selling certain defense equipment to Armenia, because they have a conflict going on in the region. So, these are market trends which you have to constantly study and capitalize on the demand generated. Continuous improvement of your marketing programs will also help you define the way you are being seen in the public eye. Various companies are adapting to market changes in this particular fashion. We have discussed Rolls-Royce and Emerson and SAS. So, there are also others which also take this particular thought process into mind, and they keep continuously revisiting it to ensure their brand is visible and recalled. When it comes to client loyalty, it is again important for a B2B brand to ensure that they have long term relationships going with their clients, so that they build trust and loyalty with them, and while they are providing their solutions, they are creating ongoing support and value as they pursue their business requirements. You have to personalize your customer interactions, ensuring that you meet specific and individual challenges. We have talked about system selling. So, when you are creating a system selling atmosphere, you are also looking at the people within that particular system who are either going to be the buyers or going to be the end users, and you are figuring out ways to actually address their concerns at a unitary level as well. And this helps you build the relationships better with your clients and prospects. Now, when you are doing this, you are obviously always putting the customer at the center of whatever business processes you have set up, and you are always keen to get customer satisfaction and experience in the higher marking and ranking for yourselves. By customizing the solutions, you are meeting their specific needs and providing excellent customer service and acting on the customer feedback that they have been giving. So, we have also talked about how this can help you improve the specifications to begin with, so that you are able to deliver better, faster, and maybe at a lower rate. And lots of companies excel in doing this particular exercise to the T, even in the B2B scenario. The role of technology is very important here again, because technology is important in the space of modern marketing. You are not only able to capitalize presence, you are able to put your presence across media, and you are seamless in your approach. So, it gives you the omni-channel edge and a phygital presence, like we have discussed in the past. So, all of these are definite benefits which you can build in into the entire scenario for your benefit, and you can use various tools and platforms for effective marketing, managing all these aspects of it. Again, with automation, you can ensure that your entire nurturing process. So, if you've got a nurturing process for your leads and prospects, you can automate the customer journey communication. So, today if a lead drops in organically, because look for the services that you probably provide or even look for you by brand name, you've got the details now because they submitted it somehow through a form or through a contact. Once you've got it, you initiate the nurturing journey, you reach out to them, you check what their inputs are, and all of these things can happen over email, over WhatsApp communication, over IVR phone calls. You can give them the flexibility to take it up at their own sweet time, and so therefore, they are continuously being checked for what stage of the purchase journey they are on. So, that customer journey defines where you will be communicating what to them, whether you are telling them more about your capabilities, whether you are telling them about certain offers that are there, whether you are giving them a certain instant discount and urging them to act quickly on it, whether you are reviving a slightly dormant lying relationship. All of these aspects are part of the customer journey, and you can plan for these things and put out a certain format which triggers the communication at certain points in time if the preconditions to it are already met. Here, once you know their names, etc., you can personalize and target them very, very individually and carry the entire conversation across various media formats. And this is where technology actually helps you to drive your marketing strategy in a cohesive manner. When you are innovating in your product offerings, you are innovating for success. So, your product and service offerings are constantly being looked at for revamping, so that you can stay ahead of market trends. You encourage in the organization a certain sense of creativity, critical thinking, and the coming up of new ideas. So, you are seen as a knowledge leader for sure. And when you continuously improve the offerings, that also gets the kind of trust and credibility that is craved. So, you have innovative product strategies which you can bring into play. We have talked about agile systems, we have talked about Scrum. This helps keep you ahead of competition by ensuring that your systems look at quickly solving problems and discard processes that have not really worked in your favor. You make your mistakes, learn fast, and propagate faster. So, these are ways you can continuously jig the entire system to make it move faster towards solutioning. So, there are a lot of areas which will constantly irk you. Competition is very, very primary amongst them. You have to continuously look at what your competition is up to, and because you've got SWOT analysis now, you can look at the strengths and weaknesses of competitors and differentiate your brand. You've got the VCA model for that, and you can position yourselves with the 4 Ps, and examples of such successful competition positioning can help you create a lot of differentiated standpoints and product offerings which help you stand out better in the market. There are effective pricing approaches also, so that you are also seen as value for money. You can use strategic pricing which can be tiered as well, so that at the outset you give a low price for early birds and high for instant purchases. You can also give discounts for lump sum payment, and a variety of other features like this can be built in into your pricing matrix. There could be a lot of factors influencing the pricing decision. You can create certain value based pricing where you do not reduce your cost looking at competition, but on the contrary increase it by adding more services to make the entire bundle seem meatier, and you can avoid the constant price battle that you will face with competition if each of you starts undercutting the other. You adjust your prices based on the market conditions, because you will also see if the economy is well, so that people have the capacity to pay. And therefore, you structure your entire price strategy accordingly. Here key challenges will be buyers typically often focus more on price negotiations, because they like to bring the price down to a point which is feasible for them. So, price sensitivity varies by customer preferences and typical organizational traits. This is where the study and understanding of individuals on the decision table of the client or prospect is something which is going to affect your capabilities to address it better. You can showcase, highlight the total cost of ownership, where you can bundle a lot more in terms of offers and thereby give the sense of value, which even though at a higher ticket price may give them a lot more in terms of the bundled aspects which you bring in as the system selling aspect. And you showcase superior service, value and support. This you can also do through testimonials. So that people believe what you are going to offer in the final aspects. Again, you need to look at the 4 P's, which are Kotler's introduction to marketing. What kind of product do you have, and how are you tailoring the solutions into that particular product to meet your client's requirements? The kind of pricing which is strategically placed so that it is marrying into the need of the prospective buyer. Then the place where you are placing your distribution so that they can easily access it, and the way you are promoting it through integrated marketing communications. We have discussed omni-channel integrated marketing communications. So, these are examples of comprehensive marketing mix strategies which you must implement. And how do you bridge the gap between sales and marketing? Therefore, you align your sales and marketing efforts together, and you collaboratively plan and set your goals so that each knows what the other is planning for and how to support the function in this particular way. Insights which are coming from the ground are transmitted back to marketing, and that feedback is then utilized for planning and course corrections further, and there is constant conversation, messaging and strategic course correction which is going on. This will give you a well meshed sales and marketing alignment which helps push the organization benefits to the highest. Also, the kind of perception that you drive out there in the market. So, having a memorable brand is exceptionally required to ensure that people follow you, people come to you, you are the first port of call, etc. And that brand identity is important so that you reduce your customer acquisition cost. The trust, credibility factors are also high up, and they help keep you strong and steady in the marketplace. You are consistent in your brand messaging, the kind of visuals, the kind of imagery that you drive, and which also pushes the brand loyalty and recognition for your B2B brand identities. Now, in terms of effective communication in B2B, you should always inform your customers about your offerings and align with collaborators. So, it could be your suppliers, your channel and external stakeholders like influencers. They can speak about you in a better light, ensuring that your voice travels further than you could have done it just by doing it yourself. Other than this, in terms of communication, what you can do is look at digital trends like SEO, SEM, social media engagement, etc., and continuously have conversation stubs put out there in the form of webinars, podcasts and personal outreach for high value transactions especially, so that the people you are trying to convince are always in the recall set, they have saliency of you as a brand. And content is going to be extremely important from this point onward. It has to be a core of your marketing efforts. You have to put out valuable content and showcase how it is relevant to the buyer. Why should they buy into you as a brand and as a provider? You can put out blogs, you can put out white papers, case studies, videos, etc. and distribute these in such a way so that your B2B content is put out there. Your choice of media also in this particular case is extremely important, so that you get better ROI when you are burning your media monies. Now, beyond this, social media is extremely important. I had discussed about LinkedIn very strongly some time back. LinkedIn is today the space where all professional conversations, transactions and a lot of interaction is happening. So, LinkedIn is a space especially for B2B players, is a must have, and your presence there is something you should spruce up to the best of your ability. Here social media and B2B marketing go hand in hand, and you must look at LinkedIn and you must look at other spaces where you can get yourself. So, any of the meta platforms are equally important, plus transactionally speaking you can have WhatsApp business, which is also part of Meta, and this can again help you create continuous conversations and maybe even a nurturing funnel for your prospective clients. Platforms like that and various others exist as tools for engagement, and when you build your social media presence, you are actually creating a complete large marketing funnel. So, you can keep pushing people from the periphery into your actionable zone, and this will be driven by content and interaction strategies. We have talked about automation, we have talked about nurturing, we have talked about customer journeys. All these aspects will help you build that particular funnel and push people towards having decent and more intense conversations with you as a brand. So, lot of social media campaigns can be brought into play. We talked about where we can do these, and nowadays formats range. So, you can do webinars, you can do podcasts, a variety of such formats also exist. It is important to showcase the people behind the corporate brand as well. So, therefore, eminent functionaries of the organization, if they are seen talking sense and on a public platform, so then those views also affect the decision makers to take a decision in your favor. How do you tailor that particular approach when you are talking to individuals now, when you are close to closing a deal? You take up personalization with a big amount of zeal, and you customize your communication and offers to individuals, because at the end of the day they stand to be the decision makers in the entire system, and you use data you have collected in the entire process to drive that particular personalization aspect of things. You can use a CRM software which can help you in this particular process, customer relationship management software, and you enhance your customer experience through personalized communication, which is intended and tailor made for individuals. So, yes, because in the B2B scenario you will have lesser customers. So, therefore, it is easier to do and you can invest in this, and you can use personalized marketing tactics which ensure that the recall and top of mind awareness are increased and your ROI is maximized. So, things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to B2B marketing, because this is only a space which is going to get more and more intense from here on. Emerging trends are to be always kept in mind. Technologies which are coming up are always things that you need to factor in. Today, you have got AI, you have got voice recognition, you have got face recognition, you have got machine learning, you have got chatbots. All of these and much more that comes up in the future is stuff you will have to keep in the periphery of your vision, so that you are constantly using the latest technology to come up with content, to come up with conversations, to come up with streams of interaction with your prospect and customer. Also, you are trying to create various avenues, and while you are having those interactions, you are trying to collect data so that you are better armed to answer the needs of your prospect or customer, which is where AI, automation, all of these things come into a big facet. Again, automation wise, you need to understand who your customer is, and which is where your customer journey comes in a big way. Also, what is relevant today in the corporate space is sustainability, because we are all looking at leaving behind a better world for our next generations. So, sustainability and corporate social responsibility as a corporate citizen is something which is also preferable. Lots of buyer brands look at achieving a partnership circle with suppliers who are high on the sustainability and corporate responsibility index, and going further, as the world has thinner amount of resources and more mouths to feed, you will surely see that a move towards sustainability, corporate responsibility, etc., will become an increasingly important factor in deciding key partners and stakeholders. So, this is bound to happen and should not be at all out of your consideration set. Also, customers have evolving expectations. So, those also need to be kept in mind. Looking at all of these together, you will be in a position to prepare yourself better for future challenges and opportunities. So, at the end of the day, the dynamic business to business landscape will require you to always innovate and ensure you deliver on value. Your entire customer centricity will drive the nature of your strategies, and enhancing your service offerings, you will have the ability to build stronger relationships, increase customer satisfaction, and boost your profitability in the longer run. You've seen examples of Rolls-Royce, Adobe Systems, how they've gone about doing their things. Also, importantly, branding will remain a cornerstone of market positioning, and how you work with a unified and impactful corporate identity will showcase how you succeed in the B2B space. You will always get trust and recognition globally if your brand has that kind of salience and trust. A lot of brands like ABB, Emerson Electric have been able to do this in the past. A lot of price pressures will also get a focus, because the total cost of ownership is something you may be able to bundle in, and that will be driven by economic value analysis, so that the trade off for the kind of value you are bringing to the table and the ticket size at which you are selling your products or services will be considered at the end. And collaboratively, you will be able to save on costs and ensure that long term benefits for both buyers and sellers exist in the transaction. Communication is a key cornerstone, and you will have to look at digital channels, and you will have to have a pivotal role in connecting with customers and conveying the value effectively. You will have to prioritize your strategic service enhancements, have strong branding throughout, and value based pricing strategies to thrive in competitive markets and ensure customer loyalty. So, with this, we come to an end of this segment. In the next couple of segments, we will wrap up the fundamentals by talking about the marketing and how you map the organization's advantage in a two-part mini series. Thank you for being a patient audience, and I'll see you next time.
Hello and welcome to this piece of literary snippet. We usually know William Shakespeare as the most revered figure in the history of English literature. But we often tend to forget that he has also been one of the most hated figures in literature. And here I am not talking only about those boys and girls who have to memorize long sections from Macbeth or King Lear or Julius Caesar before they can go and sit for their school or college exams. But I am also talking about people who are themselves quite famous authors. Tolstoy, for instance, considered the writings of Shakespeare to be, and I quote, crude, immoral, vulgar, and senseless. George Bernard Shaw absolutely loathed Shakespeare, as he did Homer. But perhaps no other criticism about Shakespeare is more damaging than the one which says that Shakespeare is a marvelous storyteller, provided someone has told him the story earlier. Now, this piece of criticism is particularly damaging because it is true. None of Shakespeare's plays contain any original story whatsoever. They are all written using pre-existing materials, pre-existing stories. Now, does that diminish the stature of Shakespeare as a dramatist? Well, I'll leave that for you to decide. See you in the next episode of Literary Snippets.